There are three kinds of lies, and one of these is statistics. Every single day we're bombarded with more information than our brains know how to process. And not everything we see is presented with the purest of intentions. Consistently we are being manipulated, whether by a politician that's sugarcoating the truth, or by a brand that wants to extract additional value from your hard-earned money. In this day and age, it truly pays to be able to see through this manipulation. And one of the most common ways we are being manipulated is through the cynical and clever use of statistics. The first step in being able to combat this is to be informed. So let's start with an example. Imagine I'm a CEO of a big corporation and I want to recruit the biggest and brightest around the world. And this just so happens to include you. I'll tell you to join my company because unlike my competitors who have offered a measly pay rise of 4%, I in fact offered a whopping pay rise of 15% last year. Take a second and think about how you've potentially been manipulated here. Leave a comment below on what your initial thought was. Believe it or not, in this simple scenario there were at least 3 statistical manipulations used. The first was through the use of percentages. As I said, I offered a 15% pay rise, which was higher than anyone else. But this in itself is meaningless unless you know the absolute amount, because that's how you're going to make your decision. Imagine my competitor offers $50,000 a year and a 4% rise on that. This leads to a new total salary of $52,000. But what if I offer a smaller salary of $40,000? 15% of this is a larger amount, but the total salary is lower. So when you're presented with percentages, you have to be careful because it's not just the increase but also the starting point that matters. The next way you were manipulated was by the use of favourable statistics. Let's assume I offer the same base salary as my competitors, and for simplicity let's say both companies have 10 employees each. I said my average pay rise was 15%, but what I didn't tell you is what average I used. My competitor offers every single person a 4% pay rise, and we can calculate a number of averages on this, but they will all give us the value of 4%. And this is how I mislead you. I will offer a larger average pay rise of 15%, but the way I get this is by offering 9 people a pay rise of 2%, and then I can give myself a whopping 132% pay rise. If we add up all of these numbers and divide by 10, we get the result of 15%. And this is why it's important to know the choice of average. The one I use is called the mean. It's simply adding up all of the values and dividing by the total number of values. But clearly in my example it doesn't reflect the truth. In examples like this, we get a more accurate reflection if we use something called a median. This removes large extremes as it tells me what the middle value is. Before we move on to the final manipulation, consider supporting the channel by subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And now the final way you are manipulated is something we call cherry picking. In my initial example, I did not say what data I collected and where I got it from. So simply what I could have done is take values for my pay rise at a point that my company was rapidly growing, and while I could offer a 15% pay rise back then, I can't afford it now. And for my competitor, I simply picked one of the worst years and used it as a comparison. We see this a lot where short-term trends are often blown out of proportion in the news, even though the rest of the trend was positive. So while the short-term might strike an emotional response, it doesn't represent the reality. We make some of our biggest decisions on the basis of what we can understand from the vast sea of data. What we need to develop is a skill called data literacy. It's the ability to read, understand, argue with, and make decisions from information. This type of statistical thinking is increasingly becoming as important as our ability to read and write because it affects the way we perceive reality. Why not find out why people are reluctant to volunteer? Thanks for watching.